Thank you, Toastmaster. Okay, so I'm going to be the grammarian this evening, and you may have noticed the role of grammarian appears on our agenda, then disappears sometimes, so it's not something that we do every week. But I realized recently that I've never done the grammarian role before, so I thought I would give it a go tonight. Now, one of the key things about being a grammarian is the clue is in the name. It's about grammar. But there's also three other things that you can learn being a grammarian. You can learn about vocabulary, you can learn about critical listening, and you can also improve your evaluation skills. So that's what I'm going to be pretty much doing tonight. So if you see me with my head down, making notes, I'm making a note on people's use of grammar, their use of words, and their use of vocabulary. And at the end of the meeting, I'll give a mini report of how I felt people used certain bits of grammar throughout the evening. Now, one of the key things about being a grammarian is you come up with a key word of the week or key word of the evening. And instead of going for a word that some of us are not familiar with, I've decided to go with a very straightforward word, a word that we're all very familiar with, and that word is grateful. Okay, so grateful. Now, grateful can sometimes be misspelled. Sometimes people write it with great, G-R-E-A-T-F-U-L, but it's actually G-R-A-T-E-F-U-L. So I will be keeping an ear out for people using my word of the week, grateful, in their speeches tonight. So thank you very much for letting me be your grammarian, and I look forward to evaluating your grammar and vocabulary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you. Really, you explained the role well, and we're very grateful to you for taking on this challenge. We'll learn some new words, hopefully. Thank you.
Toastmaster Marcia. Okay, so I mean, I've blown away tonight with some of the amazing grammar that I heard tonight, and not just saying that because I'm the grammarian, but there's some really fantastic grammar tonight from our speeches, and I'm so glad I made a note of it because I even learned some new words tonight as well and some new phrases. So I'm not going to go through everybody here. I'm going to obviously try and keep it as positive as it was. I mean, starting off with Hamish's speech, and Hamish used a word that I'd never heard before, and I had to Google it, and it was frictive. So that's all about relating to or caused by friction. Now, on that point, in his evaluation by Dijon mentioned that Hamish should use less complex terminology. So I thought that was very good grammar, because he easily could have said, I think Hamish could have used some easier words so we could have understood. But he did mention about that word, and he talked about frictive. So a fair point from Dijon there, because I hadn't heard of the word frictive before. So I don't know if anybody else had. Another thing I picked up on Hamish was his slang and the type of slang that I would use as well. And it's obviously a Scottish and Irish thing. Hamish was talking about, I think it was dogs yawning, where he said, that was pretty mad. And so for a lot of people who wouldn't be aware of that phrase, that's pretty mad, they would be wondering what's he about, but I knew exactly what he was talking about because I use that phrase myself a lot. So I wouldn't say, I don't know if that's good grammar or not, but it's worth pointing it out, especially as I'm a grammarian. Moving on now, Susie's speech was full of great examples, and I'm thankful that Susie was doing her speech tonight because it's given me a lot of content. Now, Susie talked about choreographing elaborate moves to the Spice Girls, when she easily could have said, I was dancing along to the Spice Girls. So she used some fantastic, amazing grammar in her speech. And Susie has a brilliant ability to bring words to life, and she's certainly done that then and throughout her speech. She also came out with a phrase that I'd never heard of, and I had to Google that as well, and that was hell in a handbasket. So over my 40 years on life, I've never heard that term ever. So that basically means things are getting worse and worse. So thank you, Susie, for bringing that to my attention. And just one more from you there. You talked about some saint on a high horse. So I thought that was a very nice touch towards the end of your speech. So fantastic use of grammar there throughout. Moving on, Isabel, in her summation of Susie's speech, she talked about iconic body movements. And again, that's not something that I've come across before, so I've made a note of that. She also picked up on something that Susie had said, where she said, is it me, is it you, is it us? And I had to Google that to see whether or not Susie had picked that up from somewhere or she had made that up herself, because I thought that was quite fantastic phrase there. So maybe she can let me know at some stage. Susie also mentioned about more human connected experience, and I thought that was really good grammar. Now, moving back on to Hamish, and I was messaging Hamish briefly earlier on there, because Hamish came out with a fantastic bit of grammar in his I can't remember if it was a table topic or a speech. Sorry, he talked about the maligned characters from history when he was talking about Judas. And that was a fantastic phrase, a maligned character from history. So that's talking about somebody who's done something negative or has a negative connotation to him from the past. So I had written the word malign down wrong, and then I had a message, Hamish during it, just to confirm what the word was he used. So, I mean, overall, it was a fantastic night for good grammar and learning new words. You know, there's not a lot of suggestions for me to really give tonight. I mean, one of the things I did pick up, let's say, was in Dijon's evaluation, when he said, in regards to the good things that I felt, when I heard that initially, to me it didn't sound right, and I've written it down and I'm still undecided of whether it's still right or not. And but that was one of the main things. But overall, a fantastic evening, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to be grammarian tonight to make a note of that. My word of the week didn't get used too much. Marsha used it straight away when I mentioned it, and Brian mentioned it, and I think that was pretty much it. But anyway, I'm grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful to have done this role tonight, and I would encourage anyone to be a grammarian in the future. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.